Strand, coming at you from my bunker, safe and secure from the beasts of the world. What I want to do today is talk to you about Main Idea. And so you may have just viewed a video from Tim and Moby, and so I've summarized their points that they made in the video here. So the main idea is the most important point the author is making about a topic. The main idea can be in the first sentence of an article or in any part of the article. The details are the evidence that supports why the main idea is true. Now, note, any article can have more than one main idea or point. Now, that's something that Tim and Moby didn't mention. So what I want to do is share with you an article I found on a topic of interest to me, which is hunger. So I'm going to put that up here on the screen. And this comes from the National Geographic. I subscribe to National Geographic, so I read this article when the magazine originally came out, but it's also online here. And this covers the face of hunger in America, and it really kind of has three main sections, and it talks about hunger in rural areas in the country, hunger in what they call the land of cars, which they are referring to suburban areas, and then country or hunger in the city. So, and it's got all these sections and subheadings. There's even videos in this article. You can, and it's got maps and graphics. So this is a pretty complex article. So what I want to do is just focus on three of the subsections in the article. This one right here that says, as the face of hunger has changed, and then a little bit farther down, there's another subheading. Of course, it is possible to eat well cheaply. And what I did is I took the text of these two sections and I just copied them and put them into a Google Doc so I can annotate over this and show you some things. So let me go ahead and read to you the first part. And now this particular article, one of the points I want to make here is that it probably has more than one big idea or one main idea or main point. So I kind of, after having read this and reread it, as Tim and Moby had mentioned, that I kind of see three main points here. So I'll share those with you after reading it. As the face of hunger has changed, so has its address. The town of Spring, Texas, is where ranch land meets Houston's sprawl, a suburb of curving streets and shade trees and privacy fences. The suburbs are the home of the American dream, but they are also a place where poverty is on the rise. As urban housing has gotten more expensive, the working poor have been pushed out. Today, hunger in the suburbs is growing faster than in cities, having more than doubled since 2007. Yet, in the suburbs, America's hungry don't look the part either. They drive cars, which are a necessity, not a luxury here. Cheap clothes and toys can be found at yard sales and thrift shops, making a middle-class appearance affordable. Consumer electronics can be bought on installment plans, so the hungry rarely lack phones or televisions. Of all the suburbs in the country, Northwest Houston is one of the best places to see how people live on what might be called a minimum wage diet. It has one of the highest percentages of households receiving SNAP assistance, where at least one family member holds down a job. The Jefferson sisters, Mimi and Kai, live here in a 4-bedroom, 2-garage, 2-bath home with Kai's boyfriend Frank and an extended family that includes their invalid mother, their 5 sons, a daughter-in-law, and 5 grandchildren. The house has a rickety desktop computer in the living room and a television in most rooms, but only 2 actual beds. Nearly everyone sleeps on mattresses or piles of blankets spread out on the floor. Though all 3 adults work full-time, their income is not enough to keep the family consistently fed without assistance. The root problem is the lack of jobs that pay wages a family can live on, so food assistance has become the government's and society's way to supplement low wages. The Jeffersons receive $125 in food stamps each month, and a charity brings in meals for their bedridden matriarch. Like most of the new American hungry, the Jeffersons face not a total absence of food, but the gnawing fear that the next meal can't be counted on. When Mimi shows me the family's food supply, the refrigerator holds takeout boxes and beverages, but little fresh food. 2 cupboards are stocked with a smattering of canned beans and sauces. A pair of freezers in the garage each contain a single layer of food, enough to fill bellies for just a few days. Mimi says she took the children aside a few months earlier to tell them they were eating too much and wasting food besides. I told them if they keep wasting, we have to go live on the corner, beg for money or something. Okay, so this first article here, I kind of see it having 3 main points. Now, what I had to do is reread it actually to kind of get, the main ideas. Just like Tim and Moby mentioned, rereadings are really important part of this process. Now, I already did that, so I'm just going to get right to it. But I think one of the first main points is that where hungry people or where poverty is occurring has changed over time. So there's more people now in the suburbs who are hungry. So I'm going to highlight this last sentence. So today, hunger in the suburbs is growing faster than in cities, having more than doubled since 2007. So that's one big main idea. Where hunger is occurring has changed. Okay, another big idea is that I think people don't look like what you would think somebody who is in need of food might look like. So, yet in the suburbs, America's hungry don't look the part either. Whoops, darn it. Let me fix that. Okay, here we go. Oh, doing it again. Come on, cursor. There we go. So they don't look the part either. So I'm just going to highlight this part, underline that and bold it. And there's some details that support that idea, not looking the part. And then finally, I think another big idea of this article is that though adults work full time, their income is not enough to keep to feed their family, and so they need assistance. So, three big ideas here: where hungry people are has changed or is changing, moving from cities more into suburbia. People can be in need but not look like they're in need. They have cars, they have homes, they dress in a kind of middle class way and look like they're doing okay. And then finally, I mean, this has to do with the why. Low paying jobs just don't provide enough. Minimum wage jobs aren't enough to support a big family or even a small family, probably. It says here 3 people working full time just can't, cut it. So 3 big points in this article. So when I go to do my capture sheet, I would probably want to put that as maybe 3 main ideas, 3 big ideas. Hunger's growing at a rapid pace in suburbs. People look like, they're living well-off suburban lives, but really are in need. And then the reason being because they have low-paying jobs. Now, you might be able to write that as 1 sentence or 3 sentences, and then you're going to fill in a few details that support that. Let me go ahead and take a look at the other half that I picked here, the other article. This one, I think, has one big idea, and it comes right away. So let's read it. Of course, it is possible to eat well cheaply in America, but it takes resources and know-how that many low-income Americans don't have. Korea Reams of Oswego, Iowa, puts an incredible amount of energy into feeding her family of 6 a healthy diet, with the help of staples from food banks and $650 in monthly SNAP benefits. A stay-at-home mom with a high school education, Reams has taught herself how to can fresh produce and forage for wild ginger and cranberries. When she learned that SNAP benefits could be used to buy vegetable plants, she dug 2 gardens in her yard. She has learned about wild mushrooms so she can safely pick ones that aren't poisonous, and has lobbied the local library to stock field guides to edible wild plants. We wouldn't eat healthy at all if we lived off the food bank food, Reams says. Many foods commonly donated to or bought by food pantries are high in salt, sugar, and fat. She estimates that her family could live for 3 months on the nutritious foods she's saved up. The Reams have food security, in other words, because Korea makes procuring food her full-time job, along with caring for her husband, whose disability payments provide their only income. But most of the working poor don't have the time or the know-how to required to eat well on little. Often working multiple jobs and night shifts, they tend to eat on the run. Healthful food can be hard to find in so-called food deserts, communities with few or no full-service groceries. Jackie Christian didn't resort to feeding her son fried gizzards because it was affordable, but because it was easy. Given the dramatic increase in cheap fast foods and processed foods, when the hungry have money to eat, they often go for what's convenient, just as better off families do. Okay, so this, I think, makes the point that you can eat cheaply in America, but you got to know how to do it. And it's not easy. It takes time and know-how. So I'm going to just highlight this first sentence because that kind of, I think, hits the big point. Of course, it's possible to eat well cheaply in America, but it takes the resources, know-how that many low-income Americans don't have. Okay, so then I would go ahead and put my main idea in my graphic organizer and then fill in some of the important details that kind of prove the main idea. So